Today we're going to be taking a look at the Malone Runway HM2. Now this is a 2-bike platform style rack. It's designed to work with 1.25" or with 2-inch hitches. The part number on it is MPG 2149. Now we've had a lot of time to go over the bike rack. We've put it out through our test course, had several different types of bike on it to see how it does. And overall it offers some good features at a pretty economical price. Now a few of the things that we like that we think kind of set this bike rack apart from other bike racks that are in the same general price range would be one, the tilt-away feature. It's going to allow you to tilt it with 1 or 2 bikes loaded up away from your vehicle, giving you access to the hatch. It's also going to have a lock incorporated to our top frame hook, which allows us to secure both of our bikes down and to the platform so we won't have to worry about those disappearing. Now to tilt the rack away, we're going to come to the mast. This is the mast that's going to be underneath supporting our bikes. And we'll see we've got a pin and clip here. Generally you'll have to raise slightly on this center mast to remove that pin, but then you see it's going to tilt away pretty nicely. We just need to slide it out towards us and allow that to tilt down. It comes down at a really good angle, as you can see. Really gets the bikes quite a ways from the rear of the vehicle. That should give you more than enough room. This is a pretty big pedal here, a fairly wide handlebar set, and as you can see, plenty of space there. And then of course the walkway here should be adequate for you to get in there and get the stuff in or out you might need. Now to return it upright, of course we're going to need to tilt this back up. And if you watch right here, you'll kind of see what we're talking about. We need to slide this in towards the vehicle. That's going to line up our pinhole here so we can put our pin and clip back in place. So the basic idea with our locking knob is that you can see at this point it's engaged. We can loosen this up and that allows us to move our hook up and down. So once we have our other bike loaded, we're going to tighten this down, or even if you just want to carry one bike, we'll tighten that knob down, and the key disengages it. So now it just spins freely. There's no way for us to loosen this up, allowing us to raise the hooks and remove the bikes. Now with that being said, I do think it has a slight weakness in it. Say you had 2 different size bikes. This one has a lower upper frame portion and the one you had in the back has a higher frame portion. Well, in that case, this hook is going to be up higher. So if this hook were here, you're still going to be able to adjust this knob slightly. So you can loosen this, bring that up, and at a point we'd be able to get that bike off there. So well, I think it's going to do a really good job of keeping honest people honest and not leaving us open for a very easy opportunity. Even with the lock in place, if somebody really wanted to get to that bike, if they were of different heights, they might be able to do it. Now with this design, our bike's essentially held in place with 3 connection points. We've got our front and our rear wheel hoop here. Those are going to have straps on them just for a little bit of additional protection. And then we've got our frame hook. Now this is going to be a steel hook with a foam pad on it. We'll just bring that down so it makes good contact with our tube. That foam's going to prevent any scratching or damage to our bike. And then we'll secure our knob to hold it in place. Now as far as the loading and unloading process go, there's really not much of a difference between this one and other platform racks of this style. Got a wheel strap there. And again, these are just offering a little bit of added security. We've got our main hook. This is what's doing the majority of the work. We want to loosen this. I'm going to raise that up, get it out of the way. You can see I've already got that rear hook up and out of the way. And we're just going to slide it off. Putting it on, kind of going to be the reverse of that process. We'll have to set it in behind that center mast. That's the biggest challenge with this type of rack, I feel like. With this center mast, you either have to go in from one side or the other. If you're tall enough, you can lift it up and over. At that point, we're going to bring our hook down. Make sure we've got good contact there with the frame. Tighten our knob, and then we can secure each of our straps. Now we found the best way to do that is just to wrap the strap around one side. We're going to bring it down around the other side of our hoop, and then just bring it back just like that. And of course you'll want to do that not only in the front, but also at the rear. You see these are adjustable forward and back. I like that. That's going to allow us to get it in an appropriate spot on our rim, so it'll go between the spokes. Now when it's time to load the second bike, you want it to be opposite of your first bike. This bike you can put on it whichever direction you want it to face. The second one you want it to be opposite. It's just going to give us more room for handlebar clearance. Move our pedals so they're not hitting that center mast. We'll just bring our hook down, get it secured, and then head to those wheel straps, get those secured. Now something you want to keep in mind when loading your bikes, you want the heavier bike to be closer to the vehicle, your lighter bike should be further away. Now generally in this configuration, you're going to have good spacing for bikes. As you can see, the handlebar kind of overhangs the seat in this situation. Both sets of pedals here, we've got good room between the bikes, not really worried about any interference there. And the handlebar that we have here is making a little bit of contact with our seat. If that was a concern for you, remember we have those adjustable cradles that'll go in and out, so we can kind of change that positioning. Now a measurement that's going to be helpful in determining whether this is a rack that's going to work out for your needs, your parking situations and things like that, will be from the center of our hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of our rack here. Basically what we're looking at is about 30 3/4 of an inch. Then from the center of our hitch pin hole to the closest point of our rack, it's going to be about 8 1/4 from here to this upright. Another thing about the rack that will be pretty convenient and helpful is the fact that we can fold this up against the rear of the vehicle. Not only do we have the tilt-away feature, so we've got a pin and clip right down here that we're going to pull. Once that's pulled, we can rotate our mast down. Then we'll just replace our pin to keep it there. Then the same pin we used to tilt away, we want to remove. You can see that's just going to rotate. We'll pull out on it, rotate it up, and then we push downward to get our holes to line up. With those in mind, we can slide our pin and clip in and clip it into place. That's going to take up considerably less room on the back of our vehicle. It can make it much easier to park in tighter spaces. Looks like that's going to be down to about 14 1/4 inches. Now something that adds to the versatility of the rack, you see we've got the 1 1/4 shank here. That'll go directly into a class 1 or 2 hitch. Then with our additional spacer, we can bring that up to a class 3, 4, or 5 that has the 2" by 2" receiver tube opening. To help keep movement of the rack to a minimum, we've got our anti-rattle bolt here. They're going to provide the bolt, the lock washer, and flat washer. Just back that off to give you an idea. You can see with that bolt loose, there's a lot of movement and a lot of play in the rack. But as soon as we tighten that back up, we're going to get rid of most, if not all of it. To tighten this down, you'll want to use a 19mm or 3/4 inch wrench or socket. Now to accommodate for the different wheelbases, we've got a very simple process here of adjusting our cradles. See, it's simply going to be loosening the knob that we have here on top. See, that's nice and secure. Simply loosen that up. It's going to give you plenty of adjustment room. Now the rack's been designed to work with tires up to 3.5 inches, but keep in mind any tire over 2 5/8 will sit on top of the hoop rather than down and in. Now the rack's designed to hold bikes with a wheelbase up to 58 inches, so that should work out for most bikes out there, with the exception of tandems and recumbents. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action. This simulates turning corners or evasively maneuvering. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Once we get to the full speed bumps, we'll see the up and down action. This will be just like driving in and out of a parking lot, parking garage, or driveway. Now, when comparing this rack to other racks that we have available, I think the most similar racks that we're going to find are going to be either the XC2 or XTC2 from Swagman. Now I feel like those racks do a little better job as far as the hooks on the top coming down on the frame. They have more of a ratcheting mechanism, where with the Malone we have to deal with the knobs. Although keep in mind the Malone does have the locks included, whereas with the Swagman you'll have to provide your own. As far as the tilt away feature, we don't see that on either of the Swagman models, so if that's something important to you, this might really stand out for you. And that's going to complete our look at the Malone Runway HM2, part number MPG2149.